Hey, what's up everybody? It's PJ here from the Shuffle Squad with another video for you. Today we have some magical guests here on the channel. First, let's start off with the man of the hour here, LDF. LDF, you can introduce yourself here. No introduction necessarily needed for you, but you can tell the people who you are.
Yo, what's up, Shuffle Squad? It's LDF today for the meta forecast for the World Championships. I'm excited to talk about this. I've been kind of meaning to kind of get some things off my chest with my predictions for Worlds, so glad to be here.
Absolutely, and we're happy to have you. And also, the man, the myth, the legend, Primetime Wizard TV is here. Prime, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit here and let the people know who you are?
Hey guys, Primetime Wizard TV here. I'm also a member of the Shuffle Squad, professional Pokemon player, caster, and wizard. I'm excited to start talking Worlds, because Worlds is like literally this next weekend, next weekend, and I'm about to leave shortly, so I'd love to see your guys' take on it. I've been trying to study the meta, even though I'm not playing necessarily, but you know, I want to have that good prediction, especially with that that whole Pokemon fantasy thing. Did you guys get to do that?
No.
I've seen that. I haven't done it yet, but I want to get on that soon.
I probably should have waited till after this podcast to fill mine up.
Oh, well, that's all well and good, but really what you came here for to watch this video is the meta forecast. You want to know either you're playing in the World Championships or you want to know what might be good going into the World Championships so you know what to expect when you are watching them. Now, these World Championships, again, are taking place in Yokohama, Japan, all the way on the other side of the globe from where we are currently, at least LDF and myself. But we see so many decks coursing through the meta shifts happening. So this is the best place to go if you want to learn what decks that we think are going to perform the best. And that's really what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be going through all of the decks that have been popping up again, and then kind of go full circle and see what our own predictions are, right? So first off, let's talk about some excitement building around the World Championships. I know that myself, unfortunately, I'm staying home right now. We have some other vacations planned, and you know, finances didn't work out. Plus, unfortunately, the side event did get canceled in Japan, so you know, big sad for me. But I am really excited to see the rest of the team go to the World Championships and do their thing. So, LDF, what are your thoughts on the excitement built around the World Championships here?
I'm pretty excited. I think that it being in Japan obviously is just a big deal because it's Japan, right?
Right.
And I wish I was going to. I am also not going to Japan due to just a lot of things kind of built up. I was going to go, but a lot of things just kind of got in the way. And with Obsidian Flames coming out like the same day as Worlds, like I would rather just stay home and make videos and stream and create content. I didn't qualify for Worlds. I was close. If I tried harder, I definitely could have got my Worlds invite. But I just decided to ultimately stay home. And since they did cancel the Open, I mean, I'm kind of glad I did, because one of the main things that drew me to going was not only because I wanted to have a nice trip to Japan, but I also wanted to play in the Open. But now that they canceled the Open, then kind of makes my decision pay off. So it's nice, I guess.
But a lot of people going there, a lot of, you know, bodies at this World Championship, one of the biggest events, the biggest event of the season. So let's get some takes from somebody that is going. Prime, you are going to the World Championship. So tell us a little bit about the excitement for you going there.
So I'm going just as a trip. I'm not competing as well. I mean, I spent most of last season casting, not to mention where I am qualified to play. I was in the Philippines, but I spent most of my time in the US, right? Maybe next season, again, I'm going to move over for sure, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm still at peak excitement. Like, I'm not playing, I'm not working or anything. So I'm just there to enjoy. I'm going to be part of the crowd. I'm going to be cheering on. I'm going to be, there's still some side events. We could still do some side events. And there's so many other different events at the World, in Yokohama, Japan, to be able to do. And honestly, I'm just there for the ride. I'm just there to feel the energy for World. It's the first World Championships in, you know, where Pokemon was born. So this should be really, really big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think Japan. I think this is going to be bigger than any I see in terms of how many people, because Japan already gets like 3,000 player tournaments, right? So
absolutely. Yeah.
add on top all the people coming over to compete. That's just like there. It's going to be like a massive event. It's going to definitely be bigger than any I see, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So we've got our eyes on everything happening over there in Yokohama, Japan, especially with the team again. But let's get into the important part, the meat and potatoes here of this video, and that's the meta forecast, right? We know all the decks. We're going to go through them one at a time and kind of get everybody's takes here and what we think. So let's kind of start with a more broad stroke of a deck, right? Let's start with Arceus. Just Arceus V-Star has been all over. There's been so many ways to play it. I know I personally played it at NAIC. LDF, you've played it. Prime, have you played an Arc deck this season? Have you attempted to play an Arc deck? I feel like you haven't played an Arc deck this whole season. You just stayed away from Arceus.
I haven't, but I mean, again, I've been casting more regionals than I've actually played in. And
the late nights too. You've been casting the late nights.
That's true. And but funny you should say that, though. I actually think Arceus is going to win Worlds this year. That's
okay. Honestly,
you started with I'm just like starting out strong.
I'm on the fence for Arceus. In all honesty, I think it has the opportunity to. The problem is with the popularity of Giratina V-Star, and even the way the format is right now. I don't know if these Arc pile decks can truly do as well. Like Arctina is probably the Arceus deck that has the highest chance of winning Worlds, in my opinion. Because all these other Arc pile decks just lose to Giratina. I think Arc Umbreon, the Michael Catron deck, the Arc Dura deck, I think they just have unfavorable matchups to the Giratina decks.
Yes, absolutely. And that's really where my head's at too, because I loved playing Arc Umbreon, Duraludon, and I think it held merit because there were a lot of decks that either Duraludon was just too big to knock out. And then you put your Lost Cities down, you did your things. They had the Dark package there, so you could hit into your Gardevoir, so you could hit into your Mew VMAXs, things like that. And I really just feel like you're exactly right. We won't go down the Tina path, but if you see an Arc Giratina as that deck, you're pretty scared because that path comes down pretty hard. You judge path your opponent, and that's pretty much it. I honestly, in day 2 of NAIC, that was one of the decks that I took a loss to because I just got Arc Path and that stupid squirrel in the deck. That honestly, that's what makes that deck is the Bibarel engine, because no other Arc deck is really playing that at its core. I would like, this is a hot take, I would like to see Arc with a water attacker. Maybe
Gyarados VMAX.
Yeah, well, there's Gyarados VMAX. A lot of people don't play Kyurem, but we won't go down the rogue path too much. We'll stick to the meta stuff for now.
Some Chen-Pao decks do play 1/1 Arceus V-Star, right? So technically,
also, yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of leads us into the next deck that I've seen an uptick of, especially as of late, is Chen-Pao. So Chen-Pao is another deck that is playing, you're right, the 1/1 Arc. I've seen a 2/2 Arc in some of these lists out there. It is huge in Japan, and that's really where I want to touch on a lot of these lists too, because I pay attention to the Japanese meta. I watch it, or I look at it all the time, as far as, some of the websites I check out just for insight for my own personal lists or some testing that I'm doing, maybe my buy list. You can check out one of the other videos and see some of the lists from Japan that I was talking about with Obsidian Flames coming out. But Chen-Pao is so powerful, and especially into those Arc decks. Once it sets up, that's pretty much it. You get those water energies out, you can do almost unlimited damage as long as you're able to recycle enough. And it's, again, gaining popularity. It does also have the Radiant Greninja package for those single prize decks, so now you're able to snipe out those Pokemon on the bench. You have your Canceling Cologne to get through Manaphy, so there's the alternative win condition where you're using a single prize attacker to take multiple prizes. So what is everybody else's thoughts on Chen-Pao?
That's the exact position I think I'm feeling at, right? My mindset of Arceus just being so good, like you said, my bet is Arceus Giratina. Just putting that down for World Championships, and just because of Judge Path being so good. But because I feel like we've been in a format where Arceus stuff has just been doing really well. You mentioned Arceus Duraludon, and again, the Arceus Regidrago even won NAIC in the juniors division. So we're suddenly in this format where I think that maybe doing big damage is good again, where because sometimes it is a little tough to take a knockout on a 280 HP Pokemon, 310, 320. And if we can somehow make that easier, and again, like Chen-Pao can do it perfectly. So we're seeing the uptick of that. But we'll have to see. Then maybe Lost Box becomes more favorable again. It's that circle. Like, what call are you going to make at Worlds? Do you think that Big Tanky is going to be good because majority Lost Box players, or maybe oh no, everyone's playing Big Tanky, I should go hit hard. But if I'm hitting hard, depending on 60 HP Pokemon, maybe I should play Lost Box.
Right, and that's the other thing too. LDF, you've played a couple of local tournaments. Have you seen some Chen-Pao locally?
Yeah, the funny thing with Chen-Pao, I consider the deck, like, I always call it Xian Poo Poo, because I think that the deck's kind of mid, but I definitely think that it's an all right pick for Worlds. The problem is, ultimately, is if you're not playing Bibarel, you're probably just losing, because I think the deck needs Bibarel. Yeah. I've seen lists without Bibarel, and I'm like, how is this deck beating a deck that plays 4 Iono? Or even, like, just Judge, because without Bibarel, Chen-Pao just, I feel like, can't function. I think the deck has legs, though. I think it is actually good. There's another way to play Chen-Pao right now, which I think is maybe better, and even, potentially a better play for Worlds over like straight Chen-Pao, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more Chen-Pao than NEIC, because we've started to see the Chen-Pao list get kind of figured out a little bit with the Arc build over the Palkia, right? So the deck's starting to get figured out now, and I think that will play a factor in the deck having a bit of popularity in Japan. Yeah. It's probably going to be popular. I personally wouldn't build my deck around trying to beat it, or maybe play a tech card per se, unless it's Flying Pikachu, because I don't think Chen-Pao's worth teching for, but I do think that you should still expect to maybe hit 1 in day 1.
Exactly, and that's the thing, is that you got to take the NAIC list too and look at all the day 2, and the format was relatively new, right, for something like that. So now we're playing in the same format. We've had these months to kind of cook and build these decks and tweak everything the way that they should be played, right? And now we're getting exact 60s that are going into Worlds, which we don't normally have for the World Championships. So that's kind of different, opposed to other years where you're getting a brand new set and nobody's really played a format in a large tournament setting. And now, other than the Japanese players, everyone has played these cards for a while. And that's where the Japanese players do have the advantage, because they get these cards as soon as they come out, just like you were saying, Prime, that, Pokemon originated from Japan. So they get all the cards first, and then they come over to us after they've been translated and then reprinted, so on and so forth. So it does take some time. We are getting closer to that format, which I feel like this World's is bridging that gap. But yeah, for sure, Chen-Pao is great. Now, you did mention Lost Box, Prime, and Lost Box, I've played so much Lost Box in these past couple of weeks. To be honest with you, I know that Zach, Tyler, and I, we were really hot on that shoes list. And the Turbo Shoes list is honestly fire. I mean, shout out to Tyler for really innovating the list. And then, we took it and we tweaked things and we tested it over and over again. I've seen it played like that to success. I've seen it played with just as a turbo engine without that, with maybe more Claras. It's been fine. Not optimal, but fine. And I'm sorry, that's a hot take. And I've also seen, this is the big hot take, Kyogre. And I think Kyogre is going to be huge for Worlds. Absolutely huge. So, and I think, so Kyogre to me seems scary, right? Because if you're the Lost Box player, the worst thing in the world for you is going to be Iono spam. So if somebody's Iono spamming you, you're playing Kyogre, it seems terrible. But then again, if you're looking at the meta, Chen-Pao, 2 prize Pokemon, Arceus, 2 prize Pokemon, Giratina, 2 prize Pokemon. I could go on and on here, but there's so many 2 prize Pokemon. Even in the Guardy matchup, We haven't even gotten to the Gardy yet, but there's the Zacian, the Gardevoir EX, and if you're just doing correct math, you're going to be just fine. Now, here's the thing: is a lot of great players pick this deck, and it's because it does take a lot of thought, and there isn't a whole lot of answers to it other than Iono. So they're obviously going to gravitate to one of the most powerful decks. Again, if you've had years of experience, you're going to the World Championships, you're a top end player, maybe you're just in day 2, right? You don't even have to play the first day, and this is going to be the last World Championships that happens, based off of everything we've seen. But you know what? Kyogre, I think, is maybe the play. If not, it's going to be a top performing deck.
Is that what you're locking down, PJ? Is that
it's hot? It's hot take.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, I've been playing it more and more, and I just I haven't lost. But then again, I'm playing on ladder, so I really do want to play it. Yeah, exactly. But I want to play it at locals. I've been testing in paper. I goldfish test, so I test against myself with other meta decks.
I do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just doing that for so I know going into Worlds what's really good and what might not be great. But I also am playing Cups. So Cups are still the same Worlds format, which is great. And there's been a lot of Lost Box at these Cups that I've played. I mean, I've even gone to Canada to play some Cups.
Yeah, I saw you got top 8 of the Atlas Cup.
I did. And that's the thing is there was a lot of Lost Box there. So I can see a lot of maybe North American players at least bringing a deck like that. It definitely is going to be in one of my maybe top 3 decks that I'd see at Worlds.
I mean,
for sure.
Lost Box is always, you should always expect it as your top 3, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I personally would be terrified of playing Lost Box right now, specifically just because of, again, I think one of the more popular decks is Arceus Giratina, and you mentioned Iono spam. How about we start with a Judge spam first?
Yes.
You take take 2 prizes, and then I start spamming Iono. Yeah, good luck getting that off.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh, and I passed Ninja.
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, your Greninja's there. I see it. It's not doing much right now, but yeah, I think that if the Kyogre lists are able to overcome that, again, they do play vacuum to get around path. They're able to the stop
stone.
Exactly. All the pieces are there to get around the Iono spam, and if a player's smart, they're gonna thin their hand out. And that's the thing is like playing Lost Box. It is difficult because you have to play from every angle of the game. You have to understand what's in your opponent's hand or what might be in your opponent's hand. How many cards are in their deck? How many cards are in your deck? What's their prize map? What's your prize map? Every single turn. So the problem with this in a day 1 format, right, is day 1 of Worlds, you don't want to take a tie.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think this is going to be a day 1 deck at all.
100%.
I think it'll be a day 2 deck for sure.
I agree. Yeah. I think that I'm not sold on Kyogre. I've heard some things on Twitter, like people winning League Cups with it, but I'm looking at it like, is Kyogre really that good? It definitely is very good in a 2 and 3 prize meta, because Kyogre is one of the best cards against these Arc decks. Because Arceus is not going to play Manaphy. It's good against Lugia.
Right.
I think the problem with Kyogre, again, like you said, is the Iono and Judge spam. I've been playing around with a really cool Lost Zone deck that doesn't play Mirage Gate or Kyogre. But I've
Zard?
Maybe I can leak that. I can leak that during the spicy take. Because my Lost Box deck that I've been tweaking with has been really cool, and it has a way to get around Iono that I think is kind of lit, and maybe we'll see innovations. Because that's the thing. A lot of players from Japan like to really bring like crazy innovations to decks. Sure. I think something like that is going to happen in Japan this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're smart enough too, because they play a best of 1 format.
They do, yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, but
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they also have 2,000 players at these events too.
Yeah, they have huge tourney, right? So
no, for sure. I mean, that's what Japan is known for. I remember the Mega Audino deck that won Worlds.
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a time to bring out something, right? If you're hiding something in the tank, you bring out the Pokemon World Championship.
Model Championships, exactly.
Especially since
you're
you had
100% going to see that.
Oh yeah, I love to see that too. Like when you get those weird spicy decks that just show up randomly,
Mhm.
like even the day one decks, you're like, what is this on stream
Yeah.
right now?
Mhm.
But here's another spicy take that we'll kind of move on before we move to like some of the top two decks. But this is a hot take, and I think that if you go back and you watch Zach's top 10 videos, this one was featured as number one recently.
Yeah. This is what I was
from-
referring to earlier in my Chen-Pao talk.
Yeah, from last week. And I didn't believe in it. And I really, really debated this. And I played it at a League Cup, and I just a League Challenge, and I just got bodied. But that's also because I prized a 3-2 line. So that was on me.
That's nothing you can really do about that. Yeah.
Shuffle better.
Yeah, exactly. I got to shuffle better.
You got to pile shuffle.
But Palkia V-Star, that is my hot take. And I was a non-believer. I sleeved it up. I played it at a tournament. I said, Zach, this is a terrible deck. Why did you make me play this deck? But the more and more I actually play with it, and there's two ways to play it too. There's not just the one, and I've seen a lot of people playing both ways, not only at cups, also online events. But Palkia V-Star with a Chen-Pao backup attacker, because it's a Melanie engine too.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Irida, you got Melanie, you can cross switch your canceling clone. It's all there. The whole water package is there. The whole family.
Plays Bibarel.
It's got Bibarel. It's
Lost
got
Cities.
You got Starmie V.
Starmie V is really cool.
Starmie V.
Which is so good because of the free retreat. Like, oh my gosh. I played Suicune in the spot and I hated it. And I loved Suicune as a deck. Suicune Ludicolo was like one of my favorites. But this deck is insane because the biggest thing is if you look at all the other decks, they all ramp up to something, right? It's like, okay, I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and now I'm attacking. Whereas Palkia is like, okay, I'm going to turn one. Maybe I'll attach, maybe I won't. Next turn, I'm just going to Palkia V-Star. I can Melanie and attack, and now I'm taking prizes. What do you do? You're waiting to get that Gardevoir out. You're waiting to get your Arc set up, your Mirage Gates. Where are they? I don't know, but my Palkia is out, and it's attacking. And you know what? I'm going to put Lost City out, too. So that's the problem with this deck, and it's great because there's not a whole lot of like lightning-based decks out there. Miraidon hasn't seen a whole lot of play, and I really don't feel like it's a world championship deck that anyone would bring. So Miraidon,
I think someone's gonna get day 2 with Miraidon. But Palkia beats Miraidon because if you take the first 2 prize knockout, you win.
Oh yeah,
because it's basically you're just attacking with a bigger Raikou.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you always win the prize trade against Miraidon.
Yeah. So it's almost to the point where it's getting to that Lugia status, and I don't want to call it a Lugia deck because that deck was scary. You know, it was a whole format.
Wait, are you calling Palkia a Lugia deck?
Because you're setting up 80% of the time.
Yeah.
So
it's like,
you know, if it.
Sorry, go ahead. You first.
I was gonna say if you just get a water energy in your opening hand and you have enough Palkia, there's so much sauce in the deck, it just figures everything out.
For sure.
I like the deck. I think the thing that scares me about it is I don't know if it's beating Arc decks because Arceus can play around the ability for you to one-shot them because they won't mention how many Pokemon, and I think the Giratina is also pretty sketchy because they can Giratina one-shot your Palkias.
Yep.
If they're playing the Flying Pikachu in the Giratina deck, it gets even sketchier. That's the thing that I don't know if I'm quite. That's why that's kind of the thing that puts me on the fence about playing Palkia. I like the deck. I've built it. I've tried it. I've played it on stream. It's actually really good. Again, like you said, Greninja Cross Switcher Cologne is a pretty dirty combo. Yep. The Starmie V I've been really liking too. It's really good against Arceus. Starmie is great against Arceus and Gardevoir. But yeah, that's the thing that holds it back. Ultimately, is it feels like it's a deck that isn't figured out. Like if you're playing against it, like I played against it at a League Challenge, and I thought I was playing against a Chen-Pao deck, and my opponent prized all 3 Frigibacks. And then after like 3 prizes were taken, I'm like, this is a Palkia deck. What the heck? I'm not playing against Baxcalibur, but I think.
I was gonna say I want to stop you there just because I've seen some of the Shuffle Squads testing decks for Worlds. And there's some techs in there that I'm like, okay, I could see this. and it fixes a lot of those matchups, the texts that are in there. So I'm not going to give everything away.
Yeah, don't leak.
Give
Don't leak.
Give all the sauce.
You could message to us after, just saying. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. When we're done recording, you know.
Sure.
No, but yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I've been playing this deck a lot as well. Like but I think it's one of those. Oh, no one knew it a little bit early on. It's so weird that we're in a format that technically the meta shifts per week. I think we have late night to thank for that too, as well. You know, but
true.
I played it early on in the meta, like a couple, like maybe last week or whatnot, when people didn't know about it, and I went on a tear in the rank ladder. That's it. But it's I kind of compared it to almost Arceus Giratina, where you have your big stage 1 V-Star Pokemon that can attack really early. It takes it takes 2 attachments. Except, hey, you know what? You missed your turn 1 attachment you missed your turn 1 attachment on your V. It's not the end of the world. You have something to get back into that. So it feels like that in a way. And you know how Arceus, you're building up towards your Giratina to maybe, you're only going to attack with that once, maybe twice. That's exactly how the Chen-Pao deck feels. Chen-Pao is in the deck. It's your Tina. And I'm still here. But yeah, it sort of feels like your Tina. And now you have Cap Bucket back. Cap Bucket back.
That's true.
You got
Pokemon. Bucket. You just don't have shady dealings anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So
which is the one difference.
Yeah, Bibarel, and the Iridas.
I mean, you've got Irida. Irida's your shady dealings, essentially. You get all your cards, and you just go from there. But yeah, I mean, that's one way to play it, is just like the straight Palk with some extra bonus stuff in there. And I've also seen this at the League Cups and online. It's a deck that I tried to pilot. Where were we, LDF? We were at a regional. I'm like, let me throw this thing together. We're in a hotel room. And I'm like, man, I really like this deck. It wasn't in Florida. Was it
Was it Toronto?
Maybe, but it was a Curlia engine, and it had Gardevoir.
Gardevoir. Oh, I was there.
The Palkia Gardevoir deck.
Yes. So I had the baby Gardevoir. Now I tried this with Braxian V or Delphox V.
Delphox V. Yeah. We were testing this at your place.
Yes,
before
exactly.
Hartford. It was before Hartford.
Exactly. Yeah. So the Gardevoir deck that has Palkia in it, because you're just able to accelerate. And I've watched 3-4 prize turns come at the end of the game with this deck. Really cool. Again, I feel like the opening hands are not as consistent as the other Palkia deck. But if somebody can get this thing to pop off and they're really confident on the 60, I could see this thing going all the way, because it's scary.
You really believe in Kyogre, huh?
Yeah, that deck can play Kyogre, right? That's the thing. That deck can play Kyogre.
Absolutely. Because like out of nowhere, you just like Rod, Energy Recycler, you put like 8 energy back into the deck, you Gardevoir twice, and then you just blow a couple of things up and you're fine. It's
Judge Path. Judge Path.
Yeah, Judge Path, yeah. Well, that's the thing. Well, a lot of people are steering away from that deck just because it's boring. And I don't think it's boring. I do think it's good. I think that it's a solid middle of the road deck. The turn 1 attach is just, it's alive, right? It's still here. Turn 1 attach, pass, pray, and we go. But speaking of the Gardevoir engine, let's talk about Guardy too, because that's a good transition here. I know that Tord Redcliffe was hyping it up still as the best deck in format. So we do have to talk about it here. I think Guardy is still a great deck. It's a fine deck. But I see more and more Path to the Peak out there. I see more and more Lost City out there. Both of those spell disaster for a Guardy deck. Especially, we keep going back to the Judge and Iono spam decks. I mean, I've personally won against Guardy because that's what I do. And you put a path down and you're like, well, I guess I win, right?
Yep.
You have your Curlia engine, but eventually those Curlias run out because you have to evolve. And you can only draw so deep into the deck after those things happen. So I think Guardy is great, super powerful, able to ramp up, can thrive in a 2-prize deck meta. What's everybody else's takes on Guardy? I know that Prime, you've played a lot of Guardy yourself. You love Guardy. Because it reminds you of Shadow Rider, which
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, I feel like again the ability is busted. I feel like we're at a state though that the Gardevoir has been in the format a little bit too long without too much changes. That it kind of feels straightforward now. You know exactly how to play it. And you know exactly how to play against it. Excuse me.
Right.
But if there's I'm less of a believer now of the whole Shining Arcana, and you're just gonna attack with that. And especially, people are playing Lost City when you're depending on your 4 rods to really carry you through the game. It kind of feels tough and feels bad when your rods are now useless. But I still have been seeing. I've been seeing the Drift Bloom.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't hate Drifloon. I don't hate it.
I mean, if we're going into big Pokemon and you like Arceus to Drifloon with a tool and maybe Champions Festival, just saying.
Yeah, you get that, or you get your Forest Seal Stone to pop off, and you go find your charm in the deck. That seems like a risky play, but it's still a thing that can happen for sure. And that's like towards the next meta. We won't get too far past Worlds, but next meta we get that new stadium, and I do think that that's really what sets Gardevoir apart from the other decks. Is that I really don't think for Worlds that we're going to see a Guardy deck win. Will I see a Guardy deck place highly? Yeah, probably.
I think we'll see a Guardian top 8. Well, I think Gardevoir has one really good innovation right now, and that's just putting Sky Seal Stone back in. I think Sky Seal Stone Nation and Guardy right now is just absolutely just way too good not to play in this format.
Yeah, having dual stones, like just in case you slip, you've got the forest, and if you got to do big damage, which you can as a Guardy player, now you're taking an extra prize card, putting yourself that much further ahead in the prize race. And like, since you play like a lot of single prize attackers, just like Drifbloom, Gardevoir, the Cresselia is still in there too. You're just trading really favorably into these big decks.
Like, I think Doubleization is still, like, Doubleization Stone, like Sky Seal Stone, is probably the best way to play Guardy right now going into Worlds. Just all the stage 1 V-Star Pokemon out there just get completely destroyed. Like, Doubleization, like, Arcdura just loses to Doubleization.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You just go Zation, the first Duraludon, or first Arceus Sky Seal Stone, and then Zation, the final thing, win the game.
I feel
and you play around the Lost City.
Yeah. I was going to say the big matchup that's spooky is Lost Box. Lost Box has and always will be spooky.
I still think Gardevoir is fine against Lost Box. Like, if they get like turn 2 Sableye, it's bad. But I still don't think Gardevoir is bad. Like, I think if you play like 2 Cresselia, you're fine. Cresselia is just really good against Lost Box. I don't know. I don't buy into the Guardy lose to Lost Box train as everyone, is. Like, I think a good Guardy player should be fine against Lost Box.
Absolutely.
And you have Iono spam, right?
Yeah,
sure,
which is hard. Rods too now to get back the Cresselias. So
exactly, yeah.
I've seen some people play double worker to get around path now.
Yeah, I think double worker's good. Play 4 stadiums, like Gardevoir's one of those decks that just it can make little changes to adapt to the format. And that's it. It still does good if it does that.
You play Pumpkaboo.
Yeah,
it's a psychic. You could power it up.
That's right. You do a little chip damage here. Get that path through the peak out of the way. It's all good. You can even put in the Lost Zone. Who cares, right? And you just keep on going.
Lost City and Guardy.
So I do think it's a top 8 deck. I don't think it's a winning deck, but I
think it's top 3. Honestly, I still think it's a top 3 deck. Like,
so if we're speaking about some top decks, I mean, this is one of my favorites. I still think that the cards in this are good in multiple decks. It honestly has been one of my most tested decks. If you follow me on any social media or follow the Shuffle Squad, you'll kind of get some insight on this deck. But Lost Zone Tina, which not only here, but also in Japan, has been huge in the meta and has been overtaken. Every time you think it goes away, it comes right back and it's in full force. Even now in Japan with Obsidian Flames and 151, Lost Zone Tina is one of the most played decks in Japan, from what I can see winning, at least. And it's between that and like Charizard EX. But aside from that, I love this deck. There are so many different hex that you can put into it, so many different ways. I think that we're going to see an optimal 60 come out of Worlds. For sure. I think that we're pretty close. We're like 59 cards into an optimal 60 for the Shuffle Squad. And that's my personal belief. You can correct me in the comments if you think I'm wrong. If you got a better guard or a better Lost Zone Tina list out there, please let me know. Because I will compare notes with you. I have pages of notes on the deck. But, I've won a League Cup with it. Top 8'd a huge League Cup with it. I've played it online events. In my free time, I can just click through Lost Zone Tina. We can go on and on about my thoughts on the deck. I want to hear everybody else's thoughts on Lost Zone Tina.
Yeah, I'm a believer ever since I saw Kyle Sablehouse win with it in NAIC. That was pretty hype.
that was big.
It's one of those, hey, you like playing Lost Box, but you're having trouble with those Arceus decks? No, you just put back Giratina, and now all problems are solved.
This is, I think, Lost Tina, it feels like it's still kind of like the overhyped deck, but I think the hype is starting to like kind of pay off now, where it's not just a weird online tourney deck, because that's what it was in the Scarlet and Violet format. It was just a deck that did well in online tourneys and then flopped in every regional, but I think we are starting to get to the point where Giratina is starting to be good. I think it's a decent play for Worlds. I think it's I think it might be one of the lower conversion rate decks. Like, I think it's going to be really popular because everyone in Japan loves that deck. And since it's starting to catch waves over in America, I think the deck is starting to get a lot of traction around everywhere. But I do think that it's going to be popular, but I think that it's going to it won't have as many day 2 placements. But I think I think it's going to have a bit of a slow time in a day 2. I think it'll popular in day 1, day 2. We're not going to see as much Tina. I think the deck is good, but is it a top 3 deck though? That's where I'm at. Like, I don't know how good the deck really is. It does feel like it's bricky, and also feels like it feels like it beats Arc decks, but that's about it. That's my take on it.
So here's my insight and my take on the deck. I think Arc Tina or Lost Zone Tina can go really, really far. I think that it can day 2, and I think that the thing is that it plays differently. There is a different sequence to this deck, and I think that good players will realize that, and there will be few, because people are kind of like, good players have gravitated, like I said earlier in the video, towards regular Lost Box, right? They know how to play it. They've been playing it. So to transition your mindset on how this deck is played, it is a little bit different. So I think a lot of like players that maybe just qualified for Worlds or are in their day 1 that pick up the deck because they're like, man, Lost Zone Tina looks like a really great play right now. I'm going to play this deck. I've played Lost Zone Box before. No big deal. It plays completely different. It's 1,000% different. Yes, you have your Confies. Yes, you have your Coloruses. I've even played it where I don't even care about Colorus's Experiment. You just play Abyss Seeking. I go, it's as easy as AP Seeking.
I was just about to ask you that, PJ. How many times have you been in the Abyss Seeking turn 1 type situation? Because it's happened quite a few times to me. But
and that's the thing, is like, we're playing 3-path. Not too much an opening hand, especially as an Arc Tina felt amazing to play against, because I'm like, can I get my path? Yes, I can. You don't have an out to path. Sorry. I'm going to play the rest of the game and you can watch. Good luck. So I think that, just something like that. I know that we had the Spiritomb in for the Mew matchup. I think Mew is good. I just think Mew is a scary play because so many decks know how to beat Mew now.
And there's too much Spiritomb, I think. But Mew, I still think someone's going to do well with Mew at Worlds, because it's got a very dedicated fan base. But I don't know if we're not going to see that much Mew. But I do think somebody will do. I could even see Mew getting top 8. Like, I think it's that type of deck. But because there's enough people that play it that like still think the deck is good. It's got enough fans, right?
Yeah, and it's a sequence heavy deck, somebody that knows the deck in and out, and can count the cards and do the things that Mew does. And then you have those turn 1 pop-offs with Meloetta, because please don't play it with just Path. Just don't do it. But between Lost Zone Tina still takes a favorable matchup into Mew, and I will say this until the day I die, because you can realistically just set up a Tina. You could take out one of their single prize attackers, whether it's the Ice Q or it's the Meloetta. Then you just take out a Genesect, and then you just use your V-Star attack on a Mew VMAX, and you win the game. Or you could just be really cheeky and then hit a Mew VMAX, sprinkle with Sableye, and then just follow up with a V-Star for the second Mew VMAX, and now again you've won the game. So there's so many different prize maps. Chen-Pao is easy because Path to the Peak is there.
Yeah, Chen-Pao is pretty free.
Yeah, it's like you put the path out and they just scramble. That's what happens most of the time. But you always have those times where somebody just draws the stones and they go deep into the deck. But that's in a best of 3 format. It's nicer.
Not as likely.
Yeah, so how many times are they going to do that? But the deck runs pretty consistent with the multiple disruption cards, and that's the name of the game, right? Can you Iono better than my Iono? And on top of that, we've got Roxanne in here too, so good luck. But there are a lot of lines of play that people don't think about. So I think that somebody that's well practiced with the deck will do very well. I also see it doing a little bit better than Palkia 2 unless somebody's well versed in how to play Palkia correctly, because I can swing that magic number of 280 damage with a Lost Zone Tina. And that's the same reason why Arc Tina is probably the best Arc deck out there. Because it can swing 280. What do you do? You don't.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, who's playing V-Guard other than an Arctina list, right? Like maybe the Lugia list are playing it.
But even then, you don't let them do summoning star because you path them, right?
Yeah, and that's pretty much gonna be it for me. I can make a whole episode about this. We'll touch on one final deck because it like reigned the format, and it's in this format from last Worlds to now. It was a deck for some time, right? And that's Lugia V-Star. That's the only other deck we haven't really covered other than touching on Mew a little bit here. What do you guys think about Lugia going into the World Championships?
I still really like Lugia, to be honest. We were talking about ways to beat Arceus, and I feel like Lugia has one of those capabilities, has the capability to do that. It has the capability to stand up against Lost Box. It's like, it doesn't feel too bad against anything in the format. It's just, it's always been your own worst enemy, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we've seen people start playing more Professor Burnett, right? I've even seen someone play 4 Professor Burnett in a deck once.
I've seen that.
Yeah, 4 Burnett's like the thing right now. It's just wild.
Yeah.
And I guess if you could set up, you can definitely keep up with Arceus. You can keep up with anything, really.
I think Lugia beats Arceus if it literally sets up. Because it's, you just go Tyranitar, or you have Urshifu. You just go Urshifu, Tyranitar. Sometimes you can Lugia their Arceus V to knock it out if you don't put a double turbo on it. Then you just go T-Char. Or you go, T-Char Urshifu. So I think Lugia is a great play. I think the thing that'll make so it really depends on whether or not Giratina plays Temple. So some of the Lost Tina list did play Temple of Sinnoh.
Right.
If Guardian Tina are playing Temple, Lugia becomes a bit worse, but it doesn't seem nobody's playing Temple right now.
Yeah.
And that's really good for Lugia.
Yeah,
so I think that
Path also really sucks as a Lugia player.
Yeah, Spiritomb just like kind of bodies Lugia too, because you can't play Lumineon, right?
Yep.
Unless they're playing 4 Burnett.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, I raw drew this Burnett. Cool. So as far as that goes, I do think that we'll see some, and I think that we'll see a couple Lugia. That to me, I feel some version of Lugia. I'm not even saying that a single strike, because there's the colorless version. I've seen some builds. I even just put out a video at the time of this recording today of a colorless Lugia build, which I thought was really cool. I did play in an online tournament today, and I got bodied by this same build that I put the video out of. And I was playing Lost Zone Tina too, and I mean putting Path out, and then they just kind of like waited. And did their thing still. Slacking V can go in the deck too.
Slacking V is pretty sick, yeah.
With the choice belt on there, that slaps those the magic numbers again.
You know what feels bad? Having a lost impact of Snorlax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, where'd my energies go? One prize next. Yeah, it does. It definitely does feel bad. I will tell you that. And then you can't Sableye it. So there you go. Um, so that rounds out all of the meta decks that I think that we're going to see in Worlds. But now what I want to do, this is the most fun part about these videos, is the meta forecast. I'm going to go round table. So Prime, you can go first, then LDF, and then me. I want to do a sleeper pick that you think is going to make the top 8 of the World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. What haven't we talked about here that you think is going to be in that top 8?
Honestly, I know we did talk about it a little bit, but a very, very lucky Miraidon. That's
okay.
I mean,
No, I agree. I think that can happen.
You just have to be really lucky with the Miraidon, right? If you get the first hit into Arc, if you get the first hit into literally anything, you can trade well. And and
there's some spicy builds I've seen that they play like Mew. You just set up, you turn your Raikou on, and then you get your Arven out, you get your Forest Seal Stone out, you put a Squawkabilly down, you get your cross switcher, you do your things, right? Everything works. I could see that.
A very, very fast.
I've seen Miraidon play Path too, which is useful against Arc and Lugia and everything. And
again, a very, very fast 220 damage. And not only that, you have a finisher that can do infinite damage at the end, just in case.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
You just have to be lucky.
Exactly. Just dodge and weave as
just hit the Jenny, just hit the generator.
All right, LDF. Well, what about you? What do you think is going to do your sleeper pick for a top 8?
So I have 2 decks right now that I think are pretty underrated. So the first one is Rapid Strike. I think Rapid Strike is still very good right now.
Yeah, NAIC winner.
Exactly. It struggles against Lugia, and I think that's the only matchup that you're going to struggle against. I think Rapid Strike should probably either play Drapion or Spiritomb, and I think then your Mew matchup becomes a little bit more winnable. But I think ultimately you're going to lose to Lugia, but you're going to beat everything else. I think that your Giratina matchup is maybe sketchy because they play Path and Giratina's tanky, but at the end of the day, you can still play against Tina like a Lost Zone deck. You can have a good Yoga Loop turn. If you're really good with math, Giratina should still be at least a 50-50.
Yes, I think that it takes a 50-50 to a new scary deck, which is great in the meta. But aside from that, Lost Zone decks generally, if you're good at mapping, then it's fine.
Lost Zone's like free.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if you're a good Rapid Strike player, every day.
Every day, yeah. And so the other deck that I kind of like right now is Sableye Cramzards. This is a very interesting deck. This deck I think gets better now that Lost City is kind of starting to fall off a little bit. So this deck, obviously, you do not play Mirage Gate or Greninja. Well, you can play Mirage Gate. I've seen some lists play Mirage Gate with like Snorlax and NKV. I just like playing it with just single prizers. You just play with Sableye, Cramorant, Charizard. Maybe you'll play a Luxray in the deck with a Reverse Energy package, but I think that the deck is kind of underrated, and this is a deck that I think has a very good matchup against Lost Tina. It has a very good matchup against Arc decks. And the thing that puts this deck together is the Milotic. This is something that I've been playing in my Sableye Cramzard decks, is a 1/1 Milotic. This was popularized by Pedro Torres. So the idea behind Milotic is you put Milotic in play and you can't get Iono'd, and you just basically build up a hand. And if they boss you, so basically what you do, if you go Milotic on a turn, you do Sableye, you put your opponent in like a really awkward spot where it's like, they can boss the Milotic, knock it out, but then you just get another turn of Sableye. And it's very, especially against Gardevoir specifically, it's very, very dangerous. And it's also good against like Arc decks too. Arc plays heavy Iono and Judge right now. If they're bossing your Milotic, but not dealing with your Sableye, once again, just extra turns of Lost Mind is just absolutely just destructive. And the deck plays Super Rod and Clara. So they knock out the Milotic. As long as they don't Lost City it, you just Clara, put it back, you put the Feebas back down. They might Judge or Iono you, but again, if you're like smart and you're just setting up multiple Sableyes, or you kind of establish a Charizard in the meantime, you're chilling. Or like if you have a Charizard Milotic set up and your opponent wants to boss Milotic, they can't knock out the Charizard, and then the Charizard gets another turn to attack because they reset Charizard's attack. So the Milotic, I think, adds a lot of layers to the deck. You don't play any Ultra Ball. See, the only way to find the Milotic is you have to get off cores, but the list I played plays 2 Raihan, so you can have a Raihan turn. You can Raihan for the Milotic, which is something that I found to be really good. So
Yeah,
I don't know, I think it's just like
Raihan.
an underrated. I think it's an underrated way to play Lost Zone right now. I think
Mhm.
it also has a fine time against Turbo Lost Box.
Yes.
If you Sableye first, you're fine. I also play 2 Manaphy in my list for
Mhm.
the cheesy Greninja combos out right now.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that Sableye Cramsar is a deck that I want to see get top 8, and I think somebody could do it. I think it's a very unique way to play Lost Box. It plays differently than Turbo. You do have to be very smart with how many things you're doing in a turn because you want to make sure you're conserving ropes for Milotic so they can't boss trap it, and you're also holding on to switches for Charizard, and also trying to map out how you get to 10 in the Lost Zone. But I think the deck is like low-key kind of sick, and it's not as hard to play as Turbo Lost Box in terms of how much thinking you have to do. It's a very straightforward deck, in my opinion. I think it's a very cool play for Worlds, and I want to see it get top 8.
That sounds really, really fun. I want to play that after this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm considering bringing it to a cup on Monday.
I did see that, and then I've seen some lists that are also playing more disruption cards too on your end, so you could judge them and start building that hand like mid game, and then just set up the melodic, and then just build the hand the rest of the game after they have to recover from that judge, and then obviously the Roxannes are another thing too. So I really do find I think that's not a bad call at all. I
think it's a pretty solid deck.
Yeah.
The other thing with my Milotic, maybe my Milotic can see playing Kyogre. That sounds something that I've thought of is like, what if you play like a 2/2/1/1 Milotic in a Kyogre deck so that you can get to Kyogre even easier? Like literally, you could just play Lost Box instead of playing Charizard. You just play like a Kyogre engine, and you don't have to play like Dragonite and Raikou, but you just play like Sableye Cram, and you just play like a Kyogre. Get Milotic in play, you just build up Kyogre and win the game that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing is those decks are also playing 3 Sableye, and generally, if you sequence correctly, you can get Sableye turn 2, which is debilitating for a lot of other Lost Zone decks. You know, you don't really recover. You can never financially recover from that.
You can't. It's very good.
So, all right, we'll move on to my sleeper pick. And it's a deck that I've seen kind of pop up here and there, but I really do think that we'll see one of these in top 8. Is Regigigas. I think that's something that I think that there's a couple groups out there that are testing it. They're honing in a list. You know, it obviously did well at an event recently, and I know Cal played it at a cup. And won the cup with Regigigas list, and I feel like it's one of those things that if it hits the right stuff in a meta, you know, the Alex Szymanski plan. If you find the right route and dodge, you get your plot armor on, and you find good matchups, and you don't brick. And I mean, that's the thing with the deck now, because there's no scoop up net in the format, that you have that problem of, oops, I bricked and now I can't get out, or you get stuck. Lost City is also a pretty big problem, but I feel like
I think Lost City's on the DL. I think so. That's good for the deck.
Exactly. Yeah. If Lost City's on the downtick, Reggie's is a great pick to go heavy or go deep, make a deep run, or maybe even day 2. It's somebody sees the meta and like, oh, you know what, this is a great meta for Regigigas. And then
I think it's my ultimate issue with Reggie. So it really just comes down to how much we're gonna see Sableye, because I feel like Reggie's loses to Sableye. Like I've always kind of been like on the fence on how does Reggie's beat Sableye. Like you have a couple switch cards, but I feel like you're never gonna use those correctly. I don't know. I just find that that's my main issue with Reggie's is Sableye can kind of farm you, but I don't know. I have confidence in the deck. I want the deck to do well.
Sorry, I'm still here. Just my camera is acting up. Apologies, but
no,
you're good.
The fact that Reggie's has 130 HP, you know, and that should definitely help out. But
that's true.
I'm not a believer, to be honest. I was like, when Cal posted that picture on Twitter, I'm just like, if it wasn't Cal, I wouldn't have believed it. One of those types of scenarios, and he just had to post that right before Worlds. Now everything is messed. No, but
yes, exactly.
I've tried playing it a little bit. I absolutely hated it, trying to find the right energy, as if getting the right Reggies in play wasn't hard enough. Now you're trying to get the right energies in the discard pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
extra layers. That's true.
But it's probably better than
That's a fair point.
Miraidon, though. It's just-
That's true. It's probably better than Miraidon. I think like Reggie's like on paper it should beat everything except for maybe it'll struggle against some of the Lost Zone decks. Like I think Reggie should be able to beat Lugia, Chen-Pao. It probably just destroys Arceus.
Yeah.
And well, I guess Arcdura might be tough, but with that on the down low too. Like I think Reggie should just easily beat Arctina.
Historically, hasn't Reggie's had a good matchup against Lost Box? Like, how do they deal with one Reggie?
You had Net back in the day.
Yeah, you had Net, so you could pick up your damaged Pokemon, but it's hard with a Sableye, and then to recover after, you know,
Picnic Basket.
Ninja.
Basket.
Picnic. Oh, okay.
That actually low-key might be a good tech card in Reggie. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay. I'm gonna build Reggies after this.
All right.
That actually sounds. I actually think Picnic
like
Basket is a cool idea. Yeah.
Like nobody sees it coming. You're like, oh yeah, Picnic Basket. Wait,
Sableye's just gonna go like they'll go like 60-60. Maybe they'll be a Lucha.
Mm-hmm.
No, Picnic Basket sounds kind of lit actually. What the heck? Or Freshwater set that works too.
Yeah, that's true. Or like they'll pick off your Pokemon and get you down to where they can cram into you, or set up like the Greninja play, things like that. It's math, lots of math into it. I think a really good Lost Box player can navigate that well.
I don't know. To be fair, Reggie's does have Iono, which is honestly the best thing that it probably has is Iono. So maybe the Lost Box matchup isn't that bad because you do play Iono.
That's true too. So
and Iono is enough to beat anything right now.
And you usually play heavy path too. So Iono path over and over again. It plays 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 10 draw supporters in the deck. So
I think 4 Iono, 4 research, 2 Serena, 1 boss.
Yeah. And Zinnia's Resolve too, just for extra.
You could play that too, Zinnia. And I think you should still play Gift Energy because you probably want to make sure your Gift Energy is too good not to play in that deck either. I don't know if the list played Gift Energy, but I think 2 Gift is still you have to play Gift. There's no way the deck is good without Gift.
Right.
Because if you get Iono'd into a low hand and you can't get another Reggie established, it's bad. But having Gift just makes the deck Iono proof.
Right.
I don't know because I tried it before with like Gift Energy with like a basic like 2 of each basic energy that was important, and then once you don't need Luminous anymore, that's when you put Gift on, and then Gift becomes active. Gift energy is really good. So
no, that makes sense. But again, I'm not a believer. I'm sorry, that's like a lot.
Well, we'll see who's right here. We'll like I said, place your bets. We'll come back to this episode and we can comment who was right and who was wrong. But for anybody out there who watched the whole video here, definitely want to thank you so much for sticking with us through this whole meta forecast and what some of our picks or takes are on the meta going into that big old tournament at the end of the season here over in Yokohama. So again, thank you from all the Shuffle Squad. I'll let you guys do some outros and where everybody can find you, and then we'll kick it off here. So LDF, where can everybody find you if they want to see more of Little Dark Fury?
They can find me on Twitter at Little Dark Fury, YouTube at Little Dark Fury, Twitch at Little Dark Fury. I'm going to be creating a ton of Obsidian Flames content on Thursday and the rest of the week, to be honest. So if y'all are excited for all the Obsidian Flames stuff, definitely go sub to my Twitch and YouTube channel.
Yep, absolutely. And Prime, you are going to be out and about for this upcoming season, so I'm sure anybody playing in the regional events will see you. But where else can people see you? I know that I can't see you, but in spirit, we can go back and watch the rest of this to see your wonderful face. But where can the people find you?
Yeah, normally I do have a webcam working, but you can find me at my Twitter, which is at PrimetimeWiz. I will be going to a ton of events, fingers crossed, just like the Pokemon World Championship. So if you find me at in real life, something I have started doing is doing quick game shows with people I meet at events, just like at World. Like, I can't wait. I actually have a couple of things prepped up. So find me at events and I'll give you stuff. Let's play.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being here on this episode on the Shuffle Squad. We'll catch you next time here on the channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know down below what you thought about the video. We will see you next time. Good luck at Worlds if you're playing, and keep on shuffling.
You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content. watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again. Take it easy.